Everyone. Welcome to Inner Life 101. In this clip, I am going to show you, I'm going to evaluate another teaching of a internet, um, I don't even know what to call them, an internet teacher. And in this video, I'm going to debunk his teaching in as he teaches according to this particular video that he's watching. As you can see on the screen, this is what he calls his teaching, higher perspective. And the reason I'm doing this particular one is because this young man has been teaching a lot of people, like I basically said before. And on the internet, he has a large following, or he has a lot of people following him. And but what I noticed one day while on Instagram, he posts his children on Instagram, at least his son, his young son, excuse me, who is um, probably about a year old. Probably just, I think it just turned a year old. They just had a birthday, I think, a birthday party for him. And when he posts the videos, he posts him in the bed with the little boy, and the little boy is cursing. And young Pharaoh is doing what he's doing in this video, in his higher perspective here. And you see him got a big smile. And so I'll finish up that. I want to show you the outcome of someone who cannot see far into the future, or someone who proclaims himself to be a good dad, a good father, but he doesn't realize that being a good father is not just paying bills and buying clothes and excuse me, and those kind of things. It's also uh, dealing with the children, teaching your child, and dealing with them emotionally and mentally. So just like he's dealing with people mentally on the internet, supposedly mentally in a higher perspective, um, he needs to deal with his children on that realm as well. But as we're going to see in this video, it's kind of warped. He's not teaching like the average person would teach, an average parent would teach. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Let's get to the video or the clip.
Entertainment and everyday recordings, it gives you a higher cognitive disposition in regards to the subject matter at hand. Now, as you can see, I'm already previously laughing because I find this next clip extremely hilarious. But we are going to give a higher perspective to this next clip, but I do find it extremely hilarious. In this next clip, we're going to review a little boy who curses at his school teacher during graduation. And so, with that being said, I'm going to pull up the clip as I always do. I'm going to pull up the clip as I always do. We're going to review the media content, and then we're going to give a higher perspective. And so, with that being said, here we go. Bam.
Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, boys and girls. Shut the fuck up. Hey.
Nice.
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You need to leave? No, bitch.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Oh, okay, let me get serious here. Because I know a lot of y'all going to say, Young girl ain't not funny. You don't need to be laughing. Blah blah blah. Yes, it is funny. Life is good, man. Life is good. Listen.
Okay. That is what he did when his son was cursing. His son wasn't even 1 year old yet. He's laying in the bed with him and he's cursing. And at the same time, he's telling his son to not curse and stop cursing, stop doing that. But yet he's laughing at the same time. Don't say that. Don't say, and laughing at the same time. So let's go on a little bit more and let you see how he's not the average parent. He may be average in street life, maybe, or he may be, average in the homeboy neighborhood or something, but, or I don't even know what to call it, in the thug life or something. He may be, the average, but if you noticed in the video, no parent laughed. This was a graduation. So no doubt all of those children parents were there. So you heard no laughter in the room. The only laughter you heard on this video was young Pharaoh. So it's not a normal thing, young Pharaoh, to laugh when you see something like this.
Let me tell y'all why I have so many issues with this video outside of the child, okay? Now, I know some of y'all want to hone in and zone in and laser in on a little boy. That little boy ain't doing nothing but being a lost child in a world that don't give a fuck about him, okay? So let me make this clear.
Now, I want to stop him there. He's saying that the child has been he's been a lost child in a world that doesn't care about him. That's not true. He's being a outspoken child, speaking badly, whether he knows it or not, while in class full of parents who care about him and their children, their own children. So let's go on. So he's already painting the picture with dark glasses. The child is not in a world that does not care about him. I care about the child and I don't know him. I care about what happened in that classroom amongst all those children. But young Pharaoh thinks there's something different to see. Let's see.
If that little boy talking and acting out like that, what's going on at home? Okay? Second, this is what instead, and I'm finna make so many points, so just bear with me here. Second point.
Okay, let me handle his first point. First point, what's going on at home, the reason that he's acting out like that is that he has apparently a parent, maybe two, or maybe just one, like you, young Pharaoh. Someone thinks it's funny for him to curse. That's where that come from. That didn't come from because he's acting like an adult at home and he's doing this and he might not get chastised for cursing, just like your son does not get chastised cursing around you. So I want to tell you right now, young Pharaoh, this is your child's future. In 5, 6 years, this will be your son. You see, I'm sure that his mother is trying to teach him not to do this. But when you're not in her presence, you're teaching him to curse. And the way you're teaching him, if you don't give him the words, which most likely you do because you can't stop yourself from cursing, not even in this video. You can't stop yourself. even around children. So I'm sure he picked it up from you. And mother will have a hard time because her child is going to have to go to school one day. So let's get on so I can explain this thing to young Pharaoh, since he don't understand what parenting is about.
How about focus on what we do like about that boy? I love his spirit. I love his courage. I love his bravery. Okay? Now, his word his words might have been a little before his time, age appropriation. I mean, it's age appropriate time, but I love the spiritual inventory of this little boy. Okay? We know that we can count on him to say shit when it need to be said. Okay? So, when people don't speak out against the government, when people don't speak out against corruption, here's why. Because you kill those qualities as soon as you see them in the children, because they didn't present themselves the way that you like them. Okay?
Number one, don't put that. He's turning it around on parents now. He's turning it around, and you'll hear it later where he's turning it around on these teachers and these parents in the room. And what young Pharaoh don't understand is that it's not breaking a child's spirit to stop them from cursing. Okay? The child is only emulating what he has seen and has heard. His spirit is not being broken. He's going to be who he's going to be anyways. But the thing is, right now, you have to teach your child. You have to teach your child how to interact in the world so that your child will not stand out and be someone who is antisocial. And when I say antisocial, I mean going to prison, doing all the things. He can't work, he can't do anything in society to get along with other people. He will be the one to rob and steal and, you know, those different things with people, and those people in that room know this. That's what I don't know why you don't know this, young Pharaoh.
Now, let me say this. Was this situation handled properly? No. Nobody handled this situation properly. Whoever snatched that little boy up, he didn't handle the situation properly. Now, I'm going to tell you how the situation should have been handled, but first let me go through the discourse of what happened. Whoever snatched that little boy up out of the class, you didn't do nothing but embarrass him, isolate him, and further inflammate his issue, which is to rebel. You're making him feel like he does not belong. When a child feels like they don't belong, or when a person feels like they don't belong, they rebel. Okay? Now, let me tell you what I would have did. Okay? Matter of fact, let me stay on this point.
Okay, now we're going to hear what he said he's going to do, but I'm going to answer what he said is that number one, he's looking at the child as if he's some kind of adult or a teenager. Children, little children that age do not rebel. Children that age, you allow them room to grow, but they do not rebel like teenagers do. Teenagers rebel. So when you have a child 9, 10, under 9, under 10, 11 years old, they're usually very susceptible to your teaching. That's the purpose. They're supposed to. Okay, young Pharaoh. These children at that age are being, how can you say, they're being taught, young Pharaoh. They're being taught, and not just to get along in society, they're being taught about themselves. Okay, so he's picked up a bad habit. He needs to know the habit is bad. He needs to be told that that habit is bad. He needs to be taught. And that's what you see in that room. It is a teaching moment for that child to learn that this is not acceptable when we are in a group. When we are in our tribe or our village, We do not speak to each other like this, and you definitely don't speak to adults like this, because the adults are going to be the one to teach you. If you are at a young age fighting with the teacher, what are you going to learn? This young man cannot learn in school if he's cursing the teacher out. He can't learn his ABCs. He can't learn to tie his shoes. Okay? And if he's cursing the teacher out, where is he going to go? The other children can't learn either. He's interfering with the other children learning. That's what you need to understand about teaching children. You see, you might be there buying your children things and keeping them every now and then, but you need to learn how to teach children. Children need to be taught, or else you'll just have children running around doing what? Running around doing what, young Pharaoh? Running around just being like Neanderthals? Have no training at all? Here we go.
Before I tell you what should happen and what I would have did. That black man yoked that boy up, right? I see a lot of y'all clapping. A lot of y'all, yeah, I'm glad.
In the end, it all comes down to one word: grace. Amazing Grace by Philosophy.
Well, let me put the shoe on the other foot. See, because y'all only happy that somebody executed the negative intentions that y'all were projecting due to the fact you don't know how to be a responsible adult, and a child speaking out in an immature manner was something that shook your emotions, because you don't understand that children are not supposed to know it all at his age. They're not supposed to make correct decisions at his age. So you're happy that he was physically.
And that's what you don't understand, young Pharaoh. We know that children don't know it all. We know that they're not making right decisions in at all times. We know that. We're teaching them. And in that class, they're teaching them, teaching him and teaching the other children. This is not acceptable behavior in a village, in a group. They used to have this saying called, there's a time and a place for everything. Okay? Right now, if the little boy wants to curse and his parents think that's okay, let him do it at home, not in the classroom. They only have so much time in the classroom. So those teachers and the parents acted correctly. And your thing, young Pharaoh, seems to be kind of go against the grain, go against everybody else's thinking. When, how many children have you raised? How many children have you grew up around and saw them grow up and start getting in trouble and all that other stuff? How many? You might have been that child, but how many have you raised to do that? And not just through your baby mama and going to give her money every now and then. I'm talking about having them 24/7. You see, if you have a child 24/7, you know that even certain things that a child can do and a child picks up is not acceptable to you. So it needs to be curbed. It has to be addressed. And yes, some parents can do it negatively and some parents can do it positively. This was the only way to handle that, because you had other children involved. It's not about that one little boy anymore. It's about all the other children sitting in that room. So it was time for, what was she supposed to do? Sit there and allow him to continue to curse? Because that's what he would do. Anyways, let's go on.
Mandate, right? Here's my thing. What if a white man would have snatched that black boy up? Would you still feel the same way? If everything happened exactly how it happened, except a white man yoked that boy up, would you now demonize the white man for snatching up that black boy and justify now his actions that you now deem wrong? What if the school police would have snatched that boy up? Huh? See,
Well, the whole thing is that the way when they snatched the boy up and took him out of the room, they were basically working on ensuring that the police don't snatch him up. They snatched him up and not the school police. Okay? What you're saying has nothing to do with the issue. The issue is the little boy. Now you're going into the white man. The white man didn't snatch him up. Who snatched him up was a black teacher and a black possible parent. Okay? And took him out of the room because you have other children there. So it has nothing, not even going to address the fact of what would have happened if it was a white man that did that. A white man didn't do it. Where he is supposed to be taught and reared is in his own community, in his own school, in his own village is where he is being taught. And that is what you see here. That's what we see.
so this is my thing. You can't pick and choose when you want certain behaviors to be reprimanded. Either you love people into healing or you violently coerce people into healing. All y'all know is violence, okay? And impatience, because that's all people showed you. So whenever children act out the way they're supposed to, which is in an incorrect manner because they're children and still living life and learning life, first thing you want to do is beat them, whoop them, or physically be violent towards them, because that's all you know.
And again, he is going off into Never Never Land. No one beat the child. No one got violent with the child. They pulled him out of the room because they were going to have to. Okay? Nobody did any of those things. And now this is what young Pharaoh does also. He goes and bash the people who, let's just say he's bashing people again. And he's bashing the parents here. He's bashing the teachers now because this is a teaching moment. And nobody has a book written out how to handle this situation. But they do know that they have to remove that child from those other children. One bad apple can spoil a whole bunch. And you allow this little boy to sit around and curse around these other children, then you have a whole room full of belligerent, ratchet mouth children.
You're an animal. So all you know to do is to treat children like animals, okay? And you don't mind treating children like an animal as long as it's another black person doing that to the kid. Because if a white person would have did it, you would have went bonkers and lost your goddamn mind and excused and magically got amnesia about the behavior that just upset you, okay? So here's my thing. Here's what should have happened. If I was the teacher, here's what would have happened. He would have yelled, "Fuck me." I probably would have laughed, honestly. I would have laughed, okay? And then I would have told him, "I respect your courage, young man. I respect your ability to voice your opinions. I don't agree with the language that you're choosing to use at your age, but I'm not your parent, okay? But I love you." And I would have gave him a hug. And I would have said, "I respected you. I respect you, okay? So whatever you feel the need to establish, you don't have to do that here because it's already established. What's going on in your home life, I have no control over it, no clue. And if it's something too crazy, you can tell me and I'll seek the proper channels. But in this classroom, you are loved and you are respected. Okay?"
Number one, young Pharaoh, you will not go in. You can tell me what's going on at home, and if it's too crazy, I'll go and, um, you know, go and take it through the proper channels. No, you won't. No, you won't. You allow that child to sit there and curse and ruin the rest of the children. The other children will end up cursing because you accepted it. and you told him, I love you for being a cursor. I love you for being ratchet. I love you for being, um, for going to get ready to go to jail. I love you for that. You see, he's going to get his love when he goes home. He's going to get his love when he comes back the next day and the teacher accepts him. That's where he'll get his love from. You're rewarding the bad behavior. They could not. The teachers know. These teachers have been doing this for ever almost. I mean, teaching has been going on forever. Teaching little children have been going on forever. And in the Black community, Black people have to deal with unruly children. And they have to separate him from the rest of the children, or else you're going to spoil the rest of them. You're not going to get the result. You're trying to teach the children something here. And yes, your child needs to learn how to count. Your child needs to learn how to speak English. Your child needs to learn how to communicate verbally to other people, with other people. You know, whether you like this system or not, it's still a system they're going to have to live in. And they have to be trained to live in that. And even if they weren't in this system, they still have to be trained how to behave in the home and in society and other areas, wherever they go. You want to laugh, you think it's funny, and all I can say to you is that that little boy in that room, young Pharaoh, that is your son in the next 5-10 years. I mean 5 or 6 years. That is your son. That will be your son sitting there cursing the teacher, and they're going to remove him from class. He will not be able to be associated with the other children. He will probably be put in a special class. Then after that, he's going to be um, probably removed from school if he can't do that. I mean, sent to a different school, depending on how bad his behavior will get. And his behavior will get bad. You yourself been in prison. You think you've been in prison for no reason. You think that your ratchet mouth towards women and everybody else is there because somebody told you they loved you, or you think it's because they didn't tell you they love you. No, it's because you chose to do this ratchetness. You know, you chose to do this shock thing with your mouth. So anyways, I know that this video may get me a little heat from a young man who, and possibly with his followers, who tend to use other people's issues to bash them with it. And that's okay. I'll accept that. But I can't stand back and sit back and listen to someone who calls themselves conscious, who some call, I mean, young Pharaoh, who calls you, somehow has a higher perspective on things. I'm telling you, young Pharaoh, this is not a higher perspective. You have to understand what's going on in the situation. Your commentary here on this video and the way you teach your child to curse does not show higher perspective, because you want to think higher perspective is being outside of the box of the norm, of the average. But that's okay when you're dealing with certain other things. Your inner life is one thing, outer life, that's another thing. That little boy is setting up, and your little boy is setting up inner life behavior that they will have to work out when they get older. You should be teaching inner life things to children. See, this is what, they're in the classroom, they're learning outside things, you know, English and math and all that. But in the home and in this classroom, when they're associating with other children, they're learning inner life things like how to share, how to be a part, how to have friends, how to have empathy, how to do certain things in a group. And that goes from what's on the inside of you, not just what's going on outside and what's coming out of your mouth and all of that stuff. So anyways, that's all I have to say about this video. This is I felt, horror. I felt, I felt shocked to see young Pharaoh and his son, and how he thought it was funny that his son is just cursing as a little baby. He's a little baby. He was not even a year old. And young Pharaoh thought it was funny. This is not a higher perspective. Nobody wants to be around a child who curses them. Nobody wants to be around an adult who curses them. Okay? And they definitely don't want to be around a child that curses. Okay? So what you're doing with your child, young Pharaoh, you're limiting his choices. You see, he won't know how to be what I call a chameleon. He won't know how to do that street thing and then do that school thing too. He won't know how to live in those two different worlds. He will be stuck in that street thing. And his mind can't come up. See, somehow, I mean, you went to jail and read books. You put your little teaching to, the teaching that you got in school to work. Somehow you were able to sit down and read and learn something. That child may not have that opportunity if you're directing them in that negative manner, in that negative road, because there is a negative road out there and there is a positive road. And it don't always have to be on a job. It has to be what you are willing to do and to feel and to think on the inside of you. You can feel and think negatively on the inside of you and treat people a certain way and think it's okay to do things and say things to people on the inside of you. Okay? Or you can think it's not. And you can think a higher perspective, have more respect for people. Respect them by not using negativity, by not talking to them in any kind of way. So you are looking at your child future if you don't stop teaching your child to curse people. To curse. You think it's funny. It's funny. You're going to laugh. You said the little boy, it's funny to you. But I guarantee you that baby's mama don't think it's funny and she won't think it's funny when she has to go up to the school and pick up her son because he's in the class cursing. And eventually they won't want him in class. And eventually he cannot go back to school. And eventually he would have to go somewhere else to get his education. And that would be a school for children like him. And then he'll be tested and he'll be going through all of these other scenarios and maybe even gone into the juvenile thing because see, we know that anger, that cursing, calling people bitchs and all that other stuff, calling women those kind of names, teachers, adults, somebody's gonna smack you down, or you're gonna somehow they're gonna something. The scenario is that anger comes with those kind of words, and eventually that child is going to act that out, and then that child is gonna have problems in his life. That's what you need to know. You need to know your child is not going to do well. Your child can go out and end up in juvenile hall and go keep going in and out of jail with petty little things, and maybe follow his father's footstep and end up spending some years in prison. When he come out, he'll really be ratchet. So think about it. You want to say that black women are teaching the boys, the male boys, wrong, but look at you. Look at you. When everybody in that entire room knew what they had to do, you come in and you're saying, "Oh no, I wouldn't have never done that. I would have said it was okay." And yes, that little boy would have kept cursing and kept cursing and kept cursing. If he was not shamed, he may have stopped. At least if he never stopped cursing, he won't do it in class. He won't waste those other children's time in class. Those other children will be able to read and write and do everything else. But that's where you talking about sending this little boy, and you're talking about sending your own child there. Anyways, everyone, that's the end of this video. I hope you liked the video. Smash that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as I come forth with more videos debunking the teachings of self-proclaimed gurus and master teachers and young pharaohs. I hate to go there with young Pharaoh, because I used to like young Pharaoh until he really started turning. He, first he was saying women was God, and now he's turning into, he's controlling. He's controlling. He controls women. He wants to control women, and that clearly shows. So that's a problem for me, and so I can't condone that. I can't be a part. I can't accept it. It goes against me. So anyways, thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe so you can get more, and I will see you in the next video. Peace and blessings.